Web and mobile applications constantly process user requests, interact with databases, and communicate with internal services behind the scenes. Backend attacks often try to abuse trust somewhere inside that flow. Today, we'll explore some of the most common backend attack types, how they work, and how systems defend against them. Let's go inside. Let's start with one of the most well-known backend attacks, SQL injection. Many applications use SQL queries to retrieve or modify data inside databases. For example, a login form sends a username and password to the server. The backend then builds a database query to verify those credentials. Vulnerabilities emerge when applications improperly mix user input directly into SQL queries. Instead of submitting normal input, an attacker attempts to inject additional SQL instructions into the query itself. If the backend is vulnerable, this could allow attackers to bypass authentication, read sensitive information, modify database records, or even delete data entirely. Applications defend against SQL injection using parameterized queries, prepared statements, ORM protections, strict validation, and carefully restricted database permissions. Next, command injection. Some backend systems execute operating system commands for tasks like image processing, backups, automation, or file conversion. Risks appear when unsafe user input becomes part of those system commands. An attacker may try to inject additional command instructions into the backend process. If successful, this could allow unintended commands to execute directly on the server. To reduce this risk, applications avoid unnecessary shell execution, validate input carefully, isolate services, and enforce least privilege permissions. Now let's talk about authentication attacks. Attackers frequently target login systems directly. For example, brute force password attempts, reusing leaked credentials from other websites, or exploiting weak authentication logic. This is why secure systems rely on protections such as rate limiting, multi-factor authentication, password hashing, account lockouts, and suspicious activity detection. Next, broken access control. Authentication answers the question, who are you? Authorization answers, what are you allowed to access? Issues begin when backend systems fail to properly verify whether a user should have access to a resource or action. For example, a user changes an account ID inside a request. If the server does not properly verify ownership, the user could gain access to another person's data. Systems defend against this using strict server-side authorization checks and role-based access control. Now let's look at server-side request forgery, commonly known as SSRF. In this attack, the attacker tricks the backend server into making requests on the attacker's behalf. Instead of attacking a target directly, the attacker abuses the trusted backend server as an intermediary. This becomes especially dangerous because backend servers often have access to internal systems, private APIs, cloud metadata services, or network resources that external users cannot normally reach. Common defenses include request validation, URL allo lists, network segmentation, and restricting outbound server access. Another major risk involves insecure file uploads. Many applications allow users to upload images, documents, videos, and other files. Danger arises when uploaded files are not properly validated or isolated. Attackers may attempt to upload malicious files disguised as harmless content. If the backend incorrectly processes or executes those files, it can create serious security risks. Applications reduce this risk by validating file types, scanning uploads, storing files outside executable directories, and restricting execution permissions. Looking across all these attacks, another pattern begins to emerge. SQL injection abuses database trust. Command injection targets operating system execution. Authentication attacks target identity verification. Broken access control targets authorization logic. SSRF abuses trusted backend network access. And insecure uploads target backend file handling. Backend security is fundamentally about controlling trust, trusting user input, trusting requests, trusting uploaded files, trusting internal systems. Most backend vulnerabilities appear when systems trust something they should first verify, sanitize, isolate, or restrict. That's why backend security focuses heavily on validation, authorization, least privilege, isolation, monitoring, and layered defense strategies. Because securing a backend system is ultimately about controlling what can be trusted and what must always be verified.